So, good morning. A very warm welcome to Verkadefabriek. And it's such a joy and such a pleasure to have you all here.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Likewise. Lovely to see you all. And thank you to the whole team of Verkadefabriek. It's been a pleasure preparing this final event of IETM in 2025 with you.
Thank you, Ausa. Likewise, and welcome to your team in the wonderful city of Den Bosch, classically known as 's-Hertogenbosch. On that note, I would now like to introduce to the stage Mr. Mike van der Geld, the distinguished alderman for culture, urbanization, energy and finances. Mike.
Thank you for having me. Dear ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to 's-Hertogenbosch, a city rich in history, culture and art. From the iconic Gothic St. John's Cathedral to the masterpieces of our very own Hieronymus Bosch, our world-famous painter who created his fantastic works here in this city. Stunning replicas, indistinguishable from the originals, can be admired in our city at the Hieronymus Bosch Art Center. 's-Hertogenbosch has always been a breeding ground for creativity and innovation. Our historic city center breathes art, from the charming old streets to the modern museums like the Noord-Brabants Museum and Design Museum, as well as the rich cultural events at the venues that bring our city to life. Above all, our city is a stage city, hosting far more theater, dance and music performances than cities of similar size. We are particularly proud of our international well-known festivals, the International Vocal Competition, November Music and Theaterfestival Boulevard. During these festivals, nearly all of the cultural institutions in the city collaborate to create something extraordinary. 's-Hertogenbosch is proud of its cultural heritage, but we are looking, of course, towards the future. In our vision, culture is not a side issue, but a core value. Art brings people together, offers new perspectives, and helps us to find answers to today's challenges. We want to be a city where young idealists like you have the space to grow, experiment, and inspire. Ladies and gentlemen, your question these days, declining or thriving? In times of great challenges, climate change, inequality, and geopolitical tensions, and I would like to add increasing populism and freedom of speech and expression under pressure. In times like these, arts in general, and especially performing arts, are more needed than ever. But are they thriving? Sadly, no. Not enough, but there's hope. For this, we need a better and other discourse. Therefore, I fully support your search for new innovating practices. And I'm very happy to have you here in our city these coming days. Therefore, I wish you a wonderful and creative stay in our beautiful city. I hope you have some time to explore. Together, we can create art that matters. Thank you and have a wonderful time in our beautiful city.
Thank you, Mr. Alderman, for your kind words, which we will certainly try to take to heart in the next days. It's very interesting for us, IETM members and guests from 22 countries, to find such a culture hotspot in your city as Verkadefabriek is, with its very rich, daring programmation, impressive, eco-responsible and inclusive practices, to name a few. And to tell us a little bit more about that, I give you Wouter Bacher, programmer of theatre at Verkadefabriek.
Is it okay if I use this one? Yeah. So I would like to give you a little context to give you a sense of place. You're in a former cookie factory, and the cookie factory was famous for its cookies, but also its chocolate. And many of the locals worked here, so mostly girls. And after the factory shut down, this area was on the edge of town, so a bit crooked. And when the Verkadefabriek became established here at the cookie factory, it was totally rebuilt as a theater and as a cinema. And the neighborhood became a hub for culture. This autumn, we celebrate our 20th anniversary, and the Verkadefabriek has become an inspiration for many venues in the Netherlands. And how it goes, this area will blossom into a whole new area for arts, housing and leisure in the decade to come. And I would like to show you a short clip in which we explain our vision for the future. I'm gonna do this, wait.
The Verkadefabriek, a top-tier cultural hotspot in Den Bosch for the past 2 decades, for film, theatre, food and drinks. We invite all our visitors to always look from a different perspective. After 20 years, we continue to look ahead. We dream about the Verkadefabriek of the future. In 2034, the Verkadefabriek plays an inspiring part in our daily lives. In the Verkadefabriek of the future, imagination and informal experiences with art take center stage. And visitors, young and old, will be able to discover, roam, or participate. We create a place of connection and collaboration where creators create, talent grows, and artists meet. Together we develop new performances to go on tour, and where mainstream culture and avant-garde art go hand in hand. The experience of a festival, everything under one roof. Each space will have its own unique atmosphere and audience. With multiple cafes, a gallery shop, artist residence, exhibition space, and a brand new multifunctional stage that can also serve as an outdoor theatre. The new Verkadefabriek will also be fully accessible, designed for visitors with or without disabilities, and with diverse backgrounds and needs. The Verkadefabriek is for everyone who wants to experience the joy of art. Broaden your horizons, Verkadefabriek.
Thank you, Walter. We look forward to experiencing it all and come again and again and again in the next years while you establish your 22nd century performing arts venue, as Jeffrey and I have so often talked about it. But now to the program of this meeting and why we are all here. As I said in the beginning, we have come together for the final event of the year and also the final and finale of IETM's 3-year project NIPA, the New International in the Performing Arts. And these years, 22, 23, and 24, have been an exploration of the health status, place, and importance of our performing arts sector and our joint DNA, namely our passion for international collaboration, which brings us together in IETM. And we are asking, is it thriving or declining? Will we have to sign its death certificate as the globe heats up, budgets shrink, frontiers close, and extremism takes over? Or do we indeed have a unique historical opportunity to reinvent our practices, what it means to work internationally? IETM has been contributing to reinventions in multiplied ways in the last years, and I'll just name a few. In 22, we put focus on working conditions and fairness and asked ourselves, are we fair enough? We commissioned fundamental research on new funding models and how we can indeed leave behind the hectic, non-sustainable production cycles that we all know too well. In 23, we embarked on an eco-responsible journey. We leaned into climate justice. We made our very own IETM environmental policy. We started an inclusion and green school. We started Global Connect, now in its 4th year, having brought 43 billion liters from the global south to our network. And now in 24, we consolidate our 3 years of work and we design our collective vision of the new international in the performing arts. And this meeting is crucial on this journey. And as always, we know we can count on you, IETM members, and our international guests to come up with innovative ideas and models which work for you.
Indeed, and this is why we are here. And in doing so, we should not shy away from the current global shifts and diverse local challenges. Inequalities, conflicts, violence, artistic expression under pressure, to name a few. We should prove we can gather around the IETM campfire with all that affects our reality, and in trust we share what we want, how we want to see the future, how we as IETM members want to design the rules of the game and rework the system.
And we will do so by using our translocal approach, which we started using during the pandemic, defined as locally rooted internationalism. Translocality is an approach which rejects the notion of the universal truth when it comes to internationality, but on the contrary, enhances voices of each and every one of us in our localities, in all our diversity. Translocality embraces different perspectives, captures innovative thoughts, elevates them, and brings them to the forefront for all of us to foster and translate back to our own local reality, yet we also move together for the sake of a better world, deeper understanding, the international collaborations which drives us all and makes us IETM members. And with this in mind, I want all of us to consider that participants in this IETM meeting are largely only from the European continent, and it is therefore important to note that we are indeed missing the many important perspectives of our colleagues from around the world at this meeting. Now, a few important meeting messages. First up, and very importantly, please meet the IETM team. Rosine and Toy, our production team behind this meeting. Lotte and Giselle, our communication team. And Margarita, who I believe is taking care of the registration desk outside. But you all know her, I hope. Please find them for any questions throughout the meeting. Please note, the QR code with our meeting program is on your badge. You can always find what's next, where to go, by using your QR code. And please take time to answer the ongoing membership survey. The QR code is distributed on banners around, or little notes here and there around the venue. IETM is putting an information repertory of initiatives and projects which support artists and culture professionals living in conflict zones throughout the world. You can contribute to it by logging into your IETM account and submitting a Take Action post. We really encourage you to do so. If you have information about something that is going on, important initiatives, funding, projects, whatever is going on, please share it with us. We really want to give this plenty of space on the IETM website and in our media channels to try to highlight the opportunities for people that are under siege throughout the world. If you have any questions about it, talk to Margarita, Giselle, or Lotte. If you are attending the meditation session this evening or tomorrow, please meet at the accreditation desk at 17:45. Helene from Verkadefabriek, where are you, Helene? She's also out. Will take you to the venue where the meditation is. And if you want to join the meditations, there are still a few spots left, so please go and register at the desk during lunchtime. There's a relaxed room in the villa, which is down there on the other side of the little courtyard. And if you need to take a break, have space to relax or sit quietly, please use it. It is signpost, but please note it's not a conversation space. It is not a workspace, so please respect that if you're using it. Please note that there are warnings, for example, the use of flashing lights that have been added to the online program for each of the performances, so please make sure to check that if you need. Each workshop session will be recorded in order for us to make an anonymous report of the meeting. Sessions will also be photographed. Please speak to any of the team members if you have any questions about that. And finally, the ticket office closes at 21:30 each night. And on that note, I thank you all, and I give the word back to Jeffrey, who is going to introduce our keynote speaker of today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ausa. And now I would like to give the floor to someone I greatly admire for his courage and willpower. Someone who tries to transform personal trauma and social injustice he experienced during many years of incarceration in Guantánamo Bay into positive artistic actions. Please welcome Mohamedou.
Hi, everyone. Now I feel very important. Thank you so much. I hope this works. Okay. Okay. So I think there is a light here. Okay. Okay, this is me. As a child, I don't have a lot of pictures, and this is about 12, between 12 and 14. The reason why I don't have a lot of photos of myself, back then it was very expensive to make a photo, to have a photo made. And I remember I needed to wait one day to have it developed. Anyone remember this? You are too old. So, and no shoes. So, when we moved to the city, we were forced because of the successive years of drought in Mauritania, in sub-Saharan region. And my dream was to be a camel herder. I did not have any other dream. And I always asked my father, why there is no watch? I want to see the time so I don't take away from your time. Now I can see it. So, and I always ask my dad, why am I not allowed to ride the little camels? Because you ride the big camels. I want to ride the little camels. And he would explain to me that it's not possible to ride them. And I keep walking behind him. We moved to the city. And my older brothers found jobs. But I did not find a job because I was very little, 6 years of age or 7. And then they sent me to school by chance because I couldn't do anything else. And I fell in love with school. I fell so much in love that I would go in the scorching heat without shoes to school. And I vividly remember this day. I was walking. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon, and it was really very hot. It was a summer day, and I would run and cool down my small feet, and then I ran again. And this worked very well, except for this very nosy woman I met on the way. She stopped me, and she started giving me a lecture about why I don't have my shoes. Then I was so ashamed, I couldn't tell her that my family was so poor that they couldn't afford me shoes. And then she was talking to me, but I was looking at her eyes, and I wasn't listening. You know, someone like telling you something, but you really don't want to listen to it. You just want them to get over with it so you could carry on. And then while I was looking at her face, I was very little. And a bright idea came to my mind, and I told her, yes, you're right. I will go back now and get my shoes. And then she was like, good for you. And then I went back, giving her the impression that her sermon was good. And this is very ironic because I was in pain, and I want to cure her like I was her therapist. And then I went back, and then I took another very long way so I wouldn't meet this woman. True story. This woman was the mother of the man who would hand me over to the American, who would sign the paperwork. His name is Ali Ould Mohammed. He's very known. And later on, he became the president of the country. So, this is my mother, and this is the last photo of me when I was taken. After the horrific events of 9/11, where thousands of innocent lives were senselessly taken, I received a phone call before 9/11, way before 9/11, from a cousin of mine who is a close associate to the late Osama bin Laden. And after this put me on the radar of the CIA, and after the events of 9/11, I was arrested. I would never forget that day. It was Ramadan, the month of reflection and of thinking of other people. To be honest, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but in Mauritania, Ramadan, you pretend that you don't eat during the day and you party all night long. So just let's be very clear on this. So, anyone familiar with this? Yeah, I know. Yes. So, but we pretend, oh, we care about the poor. Look at me. No, we just party during night, the whole night. So, but in my story, this is positive for me to say I was fasting when those two guys came to me. There were two police agents, mukhabarat, meaning secret police. And there is like irony in the Arab world about the secret police. So the secret police is the police that no one knows about, but in Arabic countries, everybody knows the secret police. So it's like defeating the purpose. So they came to me, and then they asked me to come with them. You know, I had a very long day at work, and I was really very tired. And they told me to come with them. Then I asked them so I could change my clothes and take a shower. And at home was only my mother, and then my aunt and my sister. My sister was asleep, and my aunt just was paralyzed. when she saw the police, the mukhabarat, this is like very scary kind of police. If they arrest you, you disappear, and no one can ask about you. So my aunt, was completely paralyzed. She couldn't say anything. And my mother came to me, My mother is very brave woman. And I know this is cliche. Everybody think, oh, my father is brave, my mother is brave. But I really assure you that my mother is brave. And I give you the proof. My father passed on when I was about 11 years of age. And my mother was very beautiful. Look at me. So, and she was young. And some men came to my mother because they asked her for marriage, but my mother refused. She said she wants to take care of her kids. And I think that is very brave that she sacrificed her life for us. And she came to me, she said, I know why they came to you. I said, why? Mayem. We call her Mayem. Her name is Mariam, but we say Mayem. So, and I said, why? She said, because you watch television. I told you not to watch the news. And, this is like almost like a prophecy, like, oppressive government, they don't want you to know. And I heard this very original idea. I was in an event in Strasbourg, in France, and a young man stood and said, there is no classified information. There is only information that only few select people have access to. But there is no secret. Secret only from you and you and you. And she also used to tell us not to talk because I grew up in a military dictatorship. And she would tell us, do not talk because the wall have ears. Now we know that the walls actually have ears. We know that. Every time I go, like I have my phone, and every time like my phone just come and said, I can't understand what you say. Ik begrijp niet wat je zei. I'm not talking to her. It's like so annoying friend that is always with you, listening to every word. We say in Mauritania, we have a saying in Mauritania, لعن الله من لا يفوته شيء. God damn those who don't miss anything. So, and I told her, I will come back, it's no problem, they just will ask me a question. So they took me, and they put me in their, in a police car, and they asked me that I could also take my car, so I could go back the same day. And I could see the image of my mother holding her prayer beads and praying. I could see her in the rearview mirror. My aunt just stood there. She couldn't say a word, And I could see both of them as we disappeared. After about 200 meters, we turned right, and then my mother disappeared. I never saw my mother again. I never got to take care of her. I never, ever sat with her. We never drank tea together. After about 12 years in my incarceration, they came to me and they said, your mother passed on. And they also came back, they said, also your brother passed on. Pain has a taste, actually. There is a taste that comes with pain. And I sat there, and I couldn't move. They just were talking, moving their lips, but I didn't say anything. I was just watching them, to offices, with this decoration. And in prison, I wasn't allowed to see an imam. An imam is like a priest in the Islamic tradition. because they don't trust the imams. But they brought a Christian priest, but he was black. So they figured, okay, this is Muslim, he's not Christian, but a black guy would do. Guys, this is a true story. This is not fake. And then I was confused because I was waiting him to speak, to open the Quran and start. He started reciting from the Bible. And I know the Bible, so I read the Bible. So. And his also English was not that great, just like mine, which is like good. Turns out he was from South Sudan. He came, recently then. And they were talking, and then I just froze. I stood up and I started reciting the Quran 12 hours because I want to kill my body. Because, when the pain in your heart is so big, you always want to punish your body. And I don't know why, but I think you always tend to find the balance between your mind and your body. And I pulled out all my hair, like here, all my body hair, I pulled with my hands. This is how I found peace. This is how I was taken. This is not my photo. This is my former co-detainee from Australia. He's David Hicks. He was with me in the block. And he used to, I learned the language from listening to them. And I remember I was very confused because when he spoke to the guards, he spoke with a different English than the guards. And then I said, why you speak different? He said, I speak the correct English, so obviously. And so this is him. This is exactly how we were transported. About 40 hours, from plane to another plane. And I remember I was praying because I heard from Nouakchott, my first was to Jordan. Of course, our Arabic brothers and sisters. And the plane landed in Cyprus. I was so happy because I said, this is the European Union, democracy and human rights. And I was taken without a passport. I was literally breaking all the international laws, entering a country without any paper. And for an African person like me to get the European visa is almost like winning the lottery. So, but now I'm entering Europe without a visa, without even a passport. And I was wishing and praying that they would come and control us. But no one showed up. This is all, even the democratic countries were in it with the United States of America. And this is the biggest hit against democracy and human rights. And when you see that, and I completely understand this also. I discussed with my Dutch friends, and we understand that the United States of America is a very important ally to this country, as an example. And we know that American soldiers, Canadian and English soldiers died here to defend this beautiful country. But if the response to this beautiful thing is to encourage the United States to become a fascist country, I don't think so. I think when they saved you from fascism, you should also save them from fascism and not encourage them to be a fascist country that clearly said after 9/11, no one can claim human rights. Only American people can claim human rights. This is not theory, this is actually what they said. That's why we were taken to Guantánamo Bay. And this also, if they had also captured a Dutch person, they would also take them to Guantanamo Bay. They did capture, for instance, German people, French people. They took them to Guantanamo Bay without due process. And what really baffles me is why the democratic countries are helping this kind of behavior that is going to destroy the most precious thing that we have: freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and democracy. Sorry, that was almost like a khutbah, like a preaching session. This is me during a torture session, and this is a drawing made by a man by the name of Mr. X. He was part of the torture team, and he, when I was freed, he sent me this. He said, "This is you." I didn't have a chance to see myself, obviously, but he said, "This is." He captured it, because he was very traumatized, by what he saw. Those are samples. Anyone who can read Arabic could see. Those are the samples of the correspondence between me and my family. So when my family writes me, so the first letter I got from my family is about 3 years after my kidnapping, and all the letters go to the military censorship department, and then they can choose to give you the letter or not to give you the letter. And then, but most of the time, they give you the letter, but they take out what they don't want. And the same thing, if I send my mother a letter, they would take it, they will censor it, and they will send it to my mother. Censorship is funny, because we really want to know what they censor. We really are not interested in what they let you see. We are interested in what they didn't let you see. This is very important. And we use to break our head in prison in my cell. I'm trying to read, what my family wanted to say, and they did not want me to know. But I tell you something I discovered: Americans are much smarter than me. So they know how to do this stuff. This is Guantanamo Bay. I'm sorry you cannot read this, but this is when you enter the camp. It says, "Honor bound to defend freedom." I will show maybe the next one. Okay, this is when we arrived. Let me go back to this. No, this is in prison. Okay, so honor bound to defend freedom. I don't know, we say in Arabic, يَكَادُ الْمُجْرِمُ يَقُولُ خُذُونِي. The criminal is crying to be caught. Why do they write this? Why do they feel obliged to write honor bound to defend freedom in the most unfree place in the world? Many years after this, when I was released after 15 years, the first place I visited was Robben Island. And I saw the sign on Robben Island, "Uns dien met trots." Back then, I did not speak any Dutch, let alone Afrikaans. It was like a couple of years back. And then in English, we serve with pride. This is so amazing to me that those two oppressive regime of prison in South Africa, very far away from Guantanamo Bay, they agreed on basically the same thing, and it's just amazing to see the same thing. This is where I stayed, not this camp, another camp, but this is basically the same. Because I was in secret camp, they don't release any of their picture. I never saw the sun rise 15 years. I never saw the sun set. And one of my dreams in prison was just to see the sun rise. My dream was to walk on a street and walk and walk and walk without anyone stopping me. My first 8 months in prison, I didn't know days from night most of the time. And I would, every day, I think, and I would like draw a line in myself. When they took me out, they took me to sign some paperwork. I saw that I lost 10 days. I did not know what happened in those 10 days. They just happened because I was completely messed up in my calculation. This is when we arrived in Guantánamo Bay. I can't see myself here, you know. This is in prison. I always put on a face. You can see there, that's very fake smile. And because I don't want my mother to think that I'm sad or that I'm broken, even though I was broken. Absolutely, I was broken, you know. And like any resistance had no place. Because after 70 days of sleeplessness, I wasn't allowed to sleep. I was sexually assaulted. And one time, when I described the sexual assault in my book, they took away the pronouns. You know, because, you know, even though it was like men and women who participated in the sexual assault, you know, my friend Larry, who edited my book, asked me a question that I never thought about. And he told me, how about abusing those young women, you know, and use them as tools for sexual assault? Why don't they come forward and say, I didn't want to do this, you know? And so we think always like the detained person is the victim. But sexual assault, any torture, is also a crime against the person who was ordered to do the same thing. Even though it was a criminal too, he was or she was a criminal, but also the commander, you know, who has so much power over this person. And I remember one time, this specialist is a rank in the army. I told him, why you do this to me? And he said, I know I'm going to hell. I said, but why? He said, Mohamedou, if I don't do it. He didn't say Mohamedou, he said 760. If I don't do it, they would give me, quote unquote, a shitty job. So you have a choice. You can do this, or no, we cannot do anything because, of course, it's honorable, but we take you to a very bad place, you know. In prison, I decided to write. Art was my saving grace. And guys, I'm not a writer at all, because I was trained as an electrical engineer. I'm a programmer. I program computers. And I know this is a cliche, a brown man, he programs. But when you call like any help desk and you hear like bad accent, it's my cousin. So I'm just telling you. And I taught them. So, but the pain was such that I wanted to get rid of my pain. But I didn't know how. I wasn't allowed to have a pen or a paper. And you know what? I always try to market myself as a good Muslim. I know good Muslim doesn't mean anything in this part of the world, but in my country it means a lot. So we have also, thou shalt not steal. But nothing in the Quran says, thou shalt not borrow. So, which, you know, then I tried to steal papers from, you know, other detainees. And then I would write very quickly and I would hide. But I didn't know enough English to write, so I wrote in Arabic, I wrote in French, and I wrote in German at the same time. And then I would hide them. They came one day and they searched my cell and they found all my writing. They took everything, and I was so devastated, I was so destroyed. I would wait 2.5 years, I think, until I met my lawyer after that. And then I started writing, sending them letters. And I would write very small, use both sides of the page. And in about, I think, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I don't remember, I wrote 467 pages. And then, but the government said that it wasn't allowed to be published, and they detained my book for about 8 years until it was allowed to be released with the censorship. What is the biggest lesson I learned? I can share with you. My first place was Jordan. You know, I tell you something. I hated myself. I wouldn't look in the mirror because my face was African Middle Eastern face. And those faces to me are the bad guys. I hated my culture. I hated my tradition. I hate Muslims. I hate Arabs. I always ask myself, why do Arab and Muslim people serve this horrific stuff and serve any empire that come to us to do us pain and to hurt us? I never understood that. They took me and I was shaking. They don't tell you where. They put blindfold, everything, and they put me on what felt like a hearse. They took me from the prison, secret prison in Jordan, to the airport. I wanted to pee so bad, but I couldn't tell them because I said, if I say to them now, I go to pee, they change their mind, because I thought they would send me home. They told me they would send me home. I was waiting almost, I want to explode. You know, I really hated it. And now when I'm nervous, I go directly, I run to the bathroom. So at the airport, I could hear the engines of the airplane roaring. So they were talking among themselves, and in order for me not to hear them, they put music, Abdul Halim Hafiz, which was a win-win situation. I didn't want to hear them. I'd rather hear music. Anyone knows Abdul Halim Hafiz? Oh, thank God, cultured people are among us. So, and then I was waiting, and then people a new team came in, and they started to destroy my clothes with pair of scissors. And then they stripped me naked, completely naked, and one of them took a little bit my blindfold, and I could see blonde hair on, and I knew I was in American hands. And then I realized, I'm not going home. This is not home. I'm going to end up in one of those horrific American prison, being tortured and being, and being killed. And then I start to count the things that I really regretted in my life. For instance, I will tell you what I did not regret. I did not regret not having money. It wasn't a big deal. I did not regret not having an apartment in 5e arrondissement, Paris. And I did not regret so many women I met in college that did not want me. No regret. But I regretted one thing. Every time I spoke in anger to people, to my mother, to my sisters, to my brothers, and to my friends, to anyone I met. And I said, God, I want to make this pact. When I get to live again, I will only be a kind person. And this is so easy to be a kind person, except with family. Oh my God, I hate my family. Anyone hate to discuss politics with family? That's why I keep a gun. At home, I'm against guns, I'm against war, but a gun for the family, yes. But this is a challenge. So I don't want to be the kind guy outside with people, but bad with my partner, bad with my family. That's fake. That's fake. That's why I say I fucking hate you, but I have to be a kind person. That's why I don't discuss religion or politics with them. I look at this WhatsApp group and I pretend I didn't see that. I just didn't see that, you know? So, and I know, hey, Jeffrey, I know I'm eating your time, but I go very quickly now, 2 minutes. So, one of my icon, you know, and I went there, and I was very, very sad when I went to this place where those, you know, and one thing that you see in that prison, Robben Island, is there were Muslims, there were black, there were like white people there, they were like socialists, you know. All kind of people were there, and some of them were buried there. This is me, Robben Island, as a tourist, but I didn't smile. Also, this is one of the prisoners. This is my lawyer, Nancy. This is in the cell of Nelson Mandela, and this is ons Dean Metrot. And okay, it's amazing thing that Mandela met with his ex-guard, and this is me and my ex-guard, Steve. What? I didn't like think, oh, I need to do like Nelson. I only discovered his photo later on when I decided to forgive everyone. So this is a movie set. They took me to fancy restaurant. I hate fancy restaurant. I like Moroccan restaurant, Turkish restaurant, because they give you so much for so little. Fancy restaurant, it's a scam. They give you so little, but with very big name. I can't even read the menu, it's written in French. So this is the Mauritanian set. This is my nephew, Hamza, who played me when I was little. And this is my friend Tracy, she's a producer. And those are my nieces. They were responsible for the party that you see in the movie. And this is a movie set, you know. Okay, this is my first day in the Netherlands. And you know, when I came here, I had the biggest welcome by they called here Koninklijke Marechaussee. Anyone knows this? No. This is like the border police. Back then they called it Bundesgrenzschutz. They don't have it anymore. They have now even worse, Nazi Polizei, Bundespolizei. So, and they came to the plane and they say, come here. And they showed me my photo. They say, is this you? Like in Guantánamo Bay, a very ugly photo in Guantánamo Bay. I was like, yes. I wouldn't engage with them. I say, you need to call Harman, Jeffrey, your friend Harman. And then they said, no, we want to talk to you. And then I wouldn't engage with them. They took the phone, and then they called like my friend Harman, who was waiting and saying, hij spreekt geen goed Engels. And that was exactly my plan. I didn't want to talk to them. So, and I remember the first thing, I came, and then I get my first coffee. It was really bad. But that was like my association with freedom in this country. And then the language, it's so the most beautiful. I came, I said, this is Amsterdam. Everybody speaks Dutch, and I will learn it in no time. I went, I memorized my first sentence. Ik wil graag een kopje koffie hebben. So, and I repeat the sentence, went to the restaurant. I think what I said, ik zou graag een kopje koffie willen hebben. The young man looked at me and said, I don't speak Dutch. Thank you guys for this beautiful.
So thank you so much. Are there any questions? We have 9 minutes left for questions. Someone who likes to ask a question to Mohamedou? No questions whatsoever. Okay, that's fine. Okay, there's a question over here. Yes, please, Rizzo.
First, wow. First, wow, what a story and what a life, and how beautiful to see you here in this, loving presence. Thank you. What is still with you of this whole thing? If you lay in your bed, you are alone, what is still with you of this whole story?
I say, thank God I'm not in prison. That's the first thing. But kindness also. I always want to be kind to people. And that's the biggest lesson. And forgiving. And forgiveness does not mean that you forget or you accept what was done to you. And I always give people an example. Breakup. Anyone went through breakup? I went many times. So I know God's perfect. So, and breakup, you have two choices. You can say, look, I'm very hurt. And don't deny your feeling. I really still like you, but I cannot be with you. But I forgive you. This is not, so I'm a good guy. Does not say I'm a good guy. But just say, I want to go on with my life. Or option number 2, stalk them on Instagram. And look who gives them the like, and God forbid if anyone leave a comment. But you should always take note of everything. So you can choose freedom. Say, you know what, I'm taking a distance, and I'm forgiving you. Or stalk them on Instagram. Both options are viable to me, but I'd rather choose the first one because I'm too lazy to stalk anyone.
Yeah, there's a question over here.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. What really struck me was your mention of Mr. X and the drawing that was given to you after. And I'm curious if through your work have you connected with other individuals who have gone through a similar experience, who have used art as a way of processing trauma or what has happened? And if you have any, I guess, suggestions about other groups or collectives that are similarly like using art or other forms of expression, particularly, I guess, in this case, to process what's happened. But thanks.
Yes. Actually, I work with artists and I write. I found my saving grace in writing, in expressing, and I co-wrote different pieces in this country. The latest one was Yara's Wedding. It was nominated the best theater piece in the Netherlands. And I work with other artists. They are much better than I. Like Sabri Al-Qurashi is very known, you can Google him. He was released 2 years before I was released, but he was stuck in Kazakhstan with no hope, with nothing, now for 10 years. And his art is really beautiful. I wish I could have prepared something. And we try to help him show his art, and also with other former detainees. And mostly people from that region, not people from this region, unfortunately, because I'm new here. You're welcome.
Oh, there's a question over there, yeah?
Ooh, box. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing. Just wanted to know if kind of what your recent efforts are in kind of prison abolition and what we can do as individuals and organisations in the arts to kind of really push for prison abolition.
Are you from the UK?
Yes.
So, the funny thing, the guy who led my torture team is Lieutenant Richard Zuli. Richard Zuli is a cop from Chicago. And he was chosen to lead the torture team in Guantánamo Bay and later on in Iraq because he was so successful in torturing black people and forced them to confess to something they didn't do. Later on, when the revelation of his torture in Guantánamo Bay were known in the US, the lawyer of those black people also went to court and they found out that they were innocent. Some of them spent almost 30 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. And I think recently I read an article about even compensation given to those people. So this prison system is not innocent because it's a business, you know. And I really don't know what to do and how much I can tell you to know that this is a very corrupt system and need completely to be done with. Thank you for your work.
Any more questions? If not, yeah, there's one last question, please. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how you found Steve, your guard.
Very easy. You ask me something I know. So the first time I met Steve was in Eco Special, a camp. He was the sergeant of the guard. And he came to me. I remember the day I was very reclusive. I did not want to talk to anyone. I was in isolation. I was most of the time in my cell. And then he came to me and said, "Hey, what's up?" I remember what he said. And I said, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then he said, "You drink coffee?" And I'm not a coffee drinker. I just do it to please the Dutch and the Americans. So I need that passport, to be honest with you. So, and we sat there. I said yes, because just a tip. If you're in prison, don't try to antagonize the guard. So I said yes. And he gave me a cup of coffee that tasted like shit. And then I drink. And then we sat and said, "Do you know how to play cards?" And then we start. Our friendship starts with coffee and playing cards. And then he left. And then later on, my lawyer came to me and said, a guard reached out to me and he wants to testify on your behalf when I was taken to court. And I said, "Do you know his name?" She said, "No, he wouldn't give me his name." And I said, "Could you describe him?" She said, he is black. I said, "How do you know?" He said, "From his talk." But he was like a white dude from Portland. And I couldn't know the guy, but he ended up like testifying on my behalf and writing a very beautiful letter. And then when I was released, he came to me, I invited him, and he stayed with me. And and then we reconnected. So he is the one who called my lawyer when I was in prison. And this way.
So, thank you so much for this very inspiring speech. You can see the movie tonight, The Mauritanian, at 20 to 9 in the cinema. Mohamedou, thank you so much. We have a 15-minute break, and then what?
First Simon, then break.
First Simon here. So we gather here.
No break.
No break. First Simon now. He will explain.
Let's give Mohamedou.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, folks. My name is not Simon, it's Simon. Just to correct y'all again, but it's all right. My name is Simon Handekai. I'm the artistic director of Chimera, a live arts company that's based between the United States and France. And I'm a theater artist, educator, and I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful for IETM to creating space to dig into these questions and for opportunity to create the facilitation process for all of you for the next 2 days. So Before we move on, I just want to say thank you for your presentation. Mohamedou, I really appreciate you speaking, and I appreciate what does it mean to deal with trauma in this way, and to incorporate humor and joy, and that is something that I feel like all of us can take with us, because I know all of us go through things, and sometimes we focus on all the negativity because it's inevitable, but then how do we also process that and let us out of our system, and also focus on joy and pleasure, and thank you for that inspiration. I also hope the next 2 days we're tackling huge questions, but the questions of joy and pleasure in these next 2 days were very important to me, and as I was trying to design these next 2 days for all of you. And the questions that we're dealing with, as someone who was born to a multi-ethnic family in Azerbaijan, then grew up and started my career in the United States, and now for the last 10 years being based in France, the question around cross-border equity and collaboration is extremely important to me. And as an artist whose company's fork tackles societal questions, in order to create a space for dialogue through innovating forms of performance, the second topic that we're going to focus on tomorrow is incredibly close to my heart. So I hope that these 2 days will be thought-provoking, and I hope that they're going to challenge you, and also an opportunity to give back to the society and community, and we're going to get to that in a second. But before we go into that, I want to go into a couple group agreements, because when we work together, there could be moments of tension, there could be moments of difficulty, and that is also very normal. Oh, I'm going to go, oh, that was a Q&A, we skipped that. And group agreements. So the first one is respect each other's differences and don't hesitate to ask questions if you need clarification. One of the things I like to call it is agree to disagree. We're here to dig in with each other, to tackle questions with each other, but we are not here to always agree. And it's fine to not agree with each other. It's how we disagree is the question, right? So what does it mean to have a safe space to dig into these questions is very important, and for IETM it's very important. Please allow all speakers and participants to complete their statements without interruption. Sometimes when we get into it, we start to talk over one another. So I ask you to try not to do that. At times I know it's difficult for myself as well, but try not to do that. If you need support around this, reach out to us. And as also mentioned earlier, there's a quiet space also. Sometimes we need a little moment to ourselves. There's a quiet space that's very nice on the next building over. Feel free to use it. There is no space for discrimination of any sort in this building. And that is something that's very important if you want to dig in. Because if we don't feel comfortable, then we can't be honest with each other. We can't be honest in the space. And it's also just not okay in this space as artists. I think we all try to tackle discrimination in our society, but sometimes we have our biases that we bring into the space. So if you feel uncomfortable about something, say it. Or come and reach out to the IETM team. We're here to support you as well. English is a working language in this room. It is not the language. So that is something that many of us in this room are not native English speakers. So let's respect that. And sometimes, even though I'm not an English speaker right now, it's my main language, I talk way too fast sometimes. And I slur my words sometimes. So if that's happening in your group, first of all, notice that for yourself if you're doing that. And then ask somebody to repeat themselves or speak clearly. It is totally fine. And if you are struggling with English, it is totally fine. It is not a space to be perfect in our language here. That is not the goal of this space. So if you're having a hard time, just say it, and people will be patient, and they will hear you. Or if you need translation help, there's also space for that if you need it. And sometimes, because those of us who are really used to the nuance of the English language, we get stuck on specific words that we really want to use, but those might not be words that others know. So let's be patient with one another if somebody does not have the right vocabulary to explain something. Because I definitely have seen conversations derailed because people are attached to terminology, and then actually we don't move forward with the dialogue and we get stuck on the terminology. So let's be open with each other and know that language is important, and also sometimes we got to let go of that nuance when we're working with people across so many languages in this room. And finally, please be on time. We're trying to be on time right now. In these next 2 days, you're going to have a lot of sessions, and we have a lot of packed in these next 2 days. And I know you're also here to connect with each other, to grab a coffee and chat with somebody. Yes, but please try to be on time. Your facilitators have been working really hard to prepare, so please be on time. And there are more in-depth community guidelines on the IETM website if you want to take a look. Before we go on, can I get a verbal yes to this if you're okay with this? 1, 2, 3? Yes. If anybody says no, come talk to me afterwards. There's also captioning available in 3 of the rooms. So if you need support with captioning, they'll be available in Tunde's room. Tunde, could you raise your hand? In Muge's room, Muge, can you raise your hand? And in my room as well. So in all of our rooms, captioning is available. Rashin and Toy are here to support you if you need support with captioning. And we can... Say it again? What is captioning? Oh, what is... Thank you very much. Captioning is available. Captioning is for folks who need support to read the text. There's a system that will have a little microphone in the space. And then you will have it on your phone, a literal translation in real time of what's going on in the space. So it's a way for you to follow along on a smartphone device what's going on in the space if you're having a hard time hearing it or you're having a hard time with the translation. Thank you. If you have any questions, speak to the folks at the desk. And now I would like to introduce you to the main questions of these next 2 days. The first question is, what should be the principles of distributing resources in international partnership? Huge, right? And even though most of the folks here are coming from Europe, when you're tackling this question, I want you to think globally. Not just here, not just with between France, Denmark, and Hungary, but look beyond that space. What does it mean to create this in an equitable way across borders? And the second question for day 2 is, what should we as members of the performing arts community do to influence the current local, regional, and/or global economic and political systems? Huge, right? It's a huge question. So really thinking about what is our responsibility of artists to go beyond our cultural sector and looking at society at large. It's a big, big, big challenge. There might be moments when you're like, is that my job? I don't know. So that's also a space to dig into that conversation. And I'm sure that many people in this room come from very different takes on this. So let this space be to get into that. One thing to say is your role is not to provide definitive answers. We're not going to come up with all the solutions by the end of these 2 days. The goal is to provide ideas and to tap into the knowledge in this room and for the IETM to not be the only one moving forward with this. And how that information will be used in the coming years is the insights will be processed into a report featuring the vision of the network on working internationally in today's world. And the vision will be will guide IETM's work in the forthcoming years and particularly feed its tools to influence policies. So the idea that this is not staying just in this room, but it's hopefully going to push policies internationally moving forward. So there's a responsibility that comes with that, obviously. In these 2 days, you'll be working separately. There are 5 incredible facilitators, but the plan overall is the same in each group. So each facilitator will make some minor modifications to the plan, but just know that even though we're working separately, we're working on a similar plan altogether. And overall, the activities that you'll be doing in each group will be more or less the same activities. And we'll come together for the keynotes and at the beginning and end of each day. I encourage you to stay with your group, but if you really feel like, oh, I need to switch, I just need to do something else today, you can switch, but please do that during a break and not like I'm walking out of the session, all right? So do that at a break at some point and maybe check in with the person you're leaving and where you're going just so they know what to expect. And I'm very, very excited to be here with these 2 days. And for the breakout groups right now, I think we're pretty much on schedule. Great, almost on schedule. Right now, can I have the facilitator just maybe raise their hand and their little color in their piece of paper? Mine is red. Oh, and we even have a slide for this. Bam! So these are all the facilitators. You have the room numbers of where you're supposed to go. We're going to have a 15-minute break in a second. And after the 15-minute break, please head to that room and we're going to start on time because then we don't get derailed moving forward. I want to thank you all very much for being here and enjoy the next 2 days.